Sixers fans, what's up? Welcome back. Like the video, subscribe. I'm back. All right. Let's talk about Ricky Council. Look, we saw him put up 19 points and more importantly had 10 rebounds last night in the game. And I'm not even going to really talk about yesterday as much as more as I am going to talk about the idea of Ricky Council and what it means to the Sixers right now. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I told you so, this kid can play. I said it from the beginning. The kid can hoop. I think a lot of Sixers fans had a feeling that this dude was pretty good from a pretty early point on. He's been lighting it up in the G League along with Turk Smith, who is another dude I think that Sixers fans are really high on. But the difference is that Ricky Council is a more all-around basketball player right now than Turk Smith. Turk's a dude that can light it up from three. Ricky Council's not really a guy with a shot yet, but he is just an absolute dog. And it means a lot for the Sixers right now, and it's what I kind of want to talk about, so let's get into it. The Sixers, my nose itches. The Sixers traded away wing depth, right? And the trade deadline got a lot of hate. And I said it from the beginning that I didn't think that it deserved the hate that it got. Look, my nose is killing me. Allergies, something. I'm getting sick. I don't know. Look, I like Pat Bev. I love him. I wanted him to retire as Sixer. I had that in a tweet 2 months ago. But at the same time, if Patrick Beverley is the dude that's going to win you a championship, you're probably not going to win a championship. That's no disrespect to Pat. He's just not really a playoff guy, and he's just not really the most skilled NBA player in the world. I love him. I do. But we overreacted as a fan base, like, to the highest degree that I've seen us overreact, and it drove me crazy. The Buddy Hield transaction was beautiful. It was awesome. We got rid of, end of the bench guys for a dude that should be a starter even when DeAnthony Melton comes back. He's a guy who spreads the floor out that we have not had. He's one of my favorite players in the NBA, and he's a guy who should have been a Sixer 3 years ago. Like, he's an awesome fit alongside Embiid especially, and I love the two-man game between him and Tyrese. I just think that both of those dudes can be really, really good guards together on a starting five. Granted, defensively they're not going to be the best, but Buddy Hield's not a straight-up liability on the defensive end. I think the Sixers had a good deadline. And cool, dude, we traded Jaden Springer. Oh, no. Oh, no. But he's not going to be good in the NBA for another 3-4 years, and by that point, who gives a shit, dude? Our window is right now. Our window is this year and then 2 years from now is probably the end of it. We don't have a long window. We need to win right now. And Kyle Lowry is just genuinely a much better basketball player in every facet of the game than Jaden Springer, besides athleticism. And Kyle Lowry is a better basketball player than Patrick Beverley. Guys, relax. I know we traded some fan favorites, but get over it. Believe in a guy, Daryl Morey, who is drafted exceptionally well. Has drafted exceptionally well since he's been in here, and he's made good moves. He hasn't been, pushed the needle far enough for us to win a championship, but he's made pretty good moves around the margins, and that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do, and you have to believe in a guy like that. And I know so many fans are going to disagree with me because they hate Daryl Morey and they want his head. How could you get rid of Pat Bev? Cameron Payne is basically just as good of a basketball player as him. I understand the differences. I understand that Pat Bev is a guy that we let go, who has the heart and has just the dog and the soul and the mentality of what Philadelphia is, and it's embodied in a player like that. And I understand that. I understand it's the intangibles that you don't see on a stat sheet that what Patrick Beverley brings. I understand he's a locker room guy. I understand every positive he brings. I get it. But also, Cameron Payne is an underrated basketball player. And now he's probably going to be our Jaden Springer role. If you really look at it, we've improved at the point guard position tenfold. Kyle Lowry over Patrick Beverley and Cameron Payne, who is 10 times better than Jaden Springer. Cameron Payne is a good playmaker. He's a guy who is confident in shooting. He can shoot 40% from three. He's a dude who's done it in the finals. Granted, it was 2 years ago, but still he's done it. And there's not many guys on the Sixers roster that can say that. Cameron Payne's a good basketball player. And then we go up and upgrade at the wing position and get Buddy Hield by giving up, Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 2 second-round picks. I don't understand why we're so frustrated at the deadline. I don't understand it. You knew the Kyle Lowry buyout was coming, and he's a better player than Patrick Beverley. And he also won a goddamn championship. Patrick Beverley's never won a championship. He's a locker room guy. He's a dog. He's a guy who fights, and he's also a Nick Nurse product. Not really product, but he won a chip under Nick Nurse. Like, it's the idea of you're creating cohesion. You're creating a winning environment. Can we just get into that? This wasn't even what the video was about. All right. So what the deadline taught us is, for right now, especially with all the injuries and everything out, we're going to need to rely on some dudes because we traded away some dudes. So we're going to need to rely on some new dudes. That being said, it turned Terquavion Smith and Ricky Council into our 8 and 9 man of a rotation. We're going to have to play these guys. We're going to have to see what they have right now in meaningful basketball games and meaningful minutes. And that is what showed us and allowed us to see what Ricky Council can bring to a basketball team right now. That dude is a dog. He fights so hard. He's a great athlete, and he is strong as an ox, dude. And I think that could genuinely be enough to have him get legitimate minutes for the rest of the season. Now, I don't know when it comes to playoff time. It really, really is going to depend. I mean, so much can change before then. You know, who knows? But he's a guy who I think at least solidified himself a full-time contract in Philadelphia. And he's a guy who I think can really find himself and carve out a role. I mean, he can just take over the Marcus Morris role immediately. The things are that I think Ricky Council needs to learn how to shoot better. He's not like incapable of shooting threes or incapable of shooting mid-range jump shots. We've seen it. But I think this is long-term speaking, you know, next year, 2 years from now, if Ricky Council can become a dude who can shoot off the dribble in the mid-range for right now, he could legitimately be a 6th, 7th man on a good team. And that's crazy to say because he's a rookie. If Ricky Council can, RC4 as I call him, if RC4 can hit into the offseason and just really improve on his shooting and his quickness to get a shot up and just ability to create space, I know that's, you know, a work in progress and that's not going to come in one offseason, but with Drew Hanlon working with him, because he works with a couple of dudes in Philly, that I think that Ricky Council has the ability to be like a really good NBA player. Like a really, really good NBA player. I think his path to becoming a solidified NBA dude, like a legit NBA player, is much, much easier than Terquavion Smith, who I love a lot. Like, I really, really enjoy watching him play, but he's like 48 pounds, and he can't play defense, and he can't really do much other than shoot, but boy, can he shoot. I mean, that dude can shoot from 40 feet out, you know, but it's going to take, I think, a lot more for Turk to turn into like a legit NBA player than it will be for Ricky. I think they both, though, like genuinely have a spot in the league for like a long time. Like, I really do. And I think that so much of what this deadline taught us is that we have other dudes on the team that, you know, granted they're like 16 years old, you give them playtime and they will turn into something for you. And I'm just really excited, honestly, about how the Sixers have cultivated young talent over the past recent couple of years. Like, the Sixers have drafted really well. Like, we really have. We've done a really good job of, like, drafting and then picking up, like, undrafted dudes right after the draft. And, like, the Sixers have done a very good job in determining young talent at a very early stage. And I have never been able to say that about the Sixers. Like, I really haven't. I mean, I haven't even been able to say it about other sports teams in Philadelphia for the most part. I mean, you can, and other sports are different, but, like, the Sixers have never been really good at drafting. Like, that's the issue. That's why we had the whole process wasn't really successful, because we couldn't draft. We made terrible decisions on the night where we needed to make a good decision. But the last 2-3 years, the Sixers have done a really, really good job. Like, honestly, did a really good job. The Daryl Morey administration, as much as you hate him for whatever reason that you do, I don't know, because he's a personality, and you don't want your boss to have a personality. For whatever reason that you guys don't like him, he has showed time in and time out that he can draft a player, that he can put together a group of guys that can evaluate talent at a college level, at a European level, and find the right dudes and draft them. And then cultivate that young talent, despite even having Doc Rivers as an NBA coach for this team, who refuses to play dudes under the age of 46 years old. Like, we've been able to create talent from a young generation, and it's great. It's really, really great. Like Paul Reed, even a late second round pick, for him to be the guy he is now, it's better than what he was ever probably projected to be. Tyrese Maxey is already better than anything he's probably been projected to be. Ricky Council and Turk Smith are both guys who look like, you know what, these dudes can play basketball at like a good level. Drayden Springer was, I think, a project, and I'm not going to say he's a bust because he was like, what, the 19th pick? Like, that's not a bust. It's just not a rotational guy. At that point, you just take risks. What the hell does that mean? But I'm not going to say that he's not good yet because he has flashes in the pan. Granted, he's not really going to a system and a team and an organization that's going to give him an opportunity. But, you know, Boston does a pretty good job of developing young talent as well. So, like, who knows? Maybe Jaden Springer's that guy too. But what I'm trying to say is that the Sixers have created a lot of young talent, and they've done a good job of it over the last 2-3 years. So, like, yay. Like, can we, like, let's celebrate that, you know? Like, I want to celebrate that. I want to celebrate the ability to draft. That's not something I'm used to as a Sixers fan, so it feels good to know that we've kind of hit pretty hard on a couple of these dudes. And I just want to celebrate Ricky Council because he's a guy who I think can genuinely really, really be a guy in Philadelphia. Like, really be a guy. You give him 2 more of these games that he had last night, and he's going to get a full-time contract, and he's going to be there. Like, I'm really excited for Ricky. I'm excited for Turk. I'm excited for, you know, the Sixers right now. Glad to see we can get our first win back. It's gonna be tough, but, like, let's go, dude.